Have you ever had something happen to you where you were thinking of a person and maybe it was someone you haven't thought of in a while, but as soon as you thought of them, you got a call or a text from that person? Or have you ever had a situation happen where you were, going about your day and you started seeing these numbers like 1111 or 222 or 333, and these numbers just kind of popped out at you? And you're like, that's odd. That's kind of strange. And then you went throughout your day and you kept seeing these same numbers repeat themselves. And maybe it was like, the time 11:11, or then it was something you saw on TV, or you heard someone say the numbers, and it was just repetitive all throughout the day, maybe all throughout your week or all throughout the month. And you were just like, what's going on? Is this just coincidences, or is there something more going on here? Or maybe it was a situation where someone said, hey, you know what? You really should listen to this particular teacher, or, you should really read this author. And you're like, I've never heard of this person, but I'll look into it. And then like the next day, maybe you're at the store and you overhear someone talking about that particular author. And you're like, that's kind of strange. Must be a coincidence. But then a couple of days later, you're watching a random movie, and it's like a comedy movie, and someone's talking about something, or maybe they make a joke, and it has something to do with that particular author, with that teacher. And you're like, well, wait a second. A week ago, I had never heard of this person. Now I've heard of them in random places like 4 or 5 times. What's going on? Well, these instances could very well be synchronicities. Now, synchronicities are things that happen to us, things that we experience in our external world that are actually much more than just happenstance. They're much more than coincidences or accidents. There's actually a lot more going on to these signs, because that's exactly what they are. They are external signs that are pointing to something. And if we can understand what the signs are, what they mean, why we're seeing them, and then if we can start to follow those signs, then it's going to lead to us experiencing something we want to experience. It's going to lead to us fulfilling our destiny. It's going to lead to us walking a path of fulfillment and peace and joy and manifestation. So, this is something that growing up, I can say that I experienced a few things throughout my life that felt like, okay, this is something much more than a coincidence. I can remember a few times where I stopped and I said, there's got to be something more going on here. And I thought it was something spiritual or something supernatural or something divine. But about 3 years ago, I really became interested in this stuff because I felt like I had stopped experiencing these different synchronicities. And at the time, I didn't know it was a synchronicity. I just thought it was something, like I said, supernatural happening or something God was doing. And I just knew it was beyond the finite mind. It was beyond my 5 senses. It was beyond this 3D material world. I knew there was something more going on to these events, to these situations, to these patterns and all the stuff that, like I said, I have experienced growing up. But then I started looking into it a little bit more. I started studying it. And what a synchronicity really is the subconscious, or you could say the higher self, or source consciousness, or God, or the universe, giving you some kind of sign, or giving you like a little wink to keep going in whatever direction you're going. For me, when I first read that, and by the way, there's different understandings, there's different meanings with synchronicities, but in my experience, that has been the main meaning behind synchronicities, okay? And I'm going to share a little story about how I experienced that and how I still am experiencing that. And so it can mean different things to different people, but ultimately that's what's really happening. That's one of the main meanings behind it. It's your outer world, what you're perceiving to be the world out there, is actually just a reflection of your inner world. And so the subconscious is projecting these different signs and symbols externally, but it's not really out there. Again, it's coming from the subconscious. It's coming from your higher self. And so when we get this, then we understand that everything we're experiencing is actually coming from within us. And so there's that saying, as within, so without. So when we start seeing these signs and symbols, we shouldn't ignore it. We should look into it. We should be curious. We should pay attention to these signs, and we should follow the signs. And so for me, like I said, about 3 years ago, I started looking into it. And this was around the time where I felt like my calling, my purpose here on earth was to be a teacher, was to write books and make videos and work with people on their spiritual journey. And so during this time, I was working a 9-to-5 office job, and it was a good job. I enjoyed working there while I was there. But after about 2 years of working there, I felt like the 9-to-5 office job was preventing me from stepping into my full potential as a teacher, as a writer. And so I started thinking about all these different scenarios, all these different paths I could take, and would it even be possible for me to stop working my 9-to-5 job and to step into this full calling fully at this point in my life? I didn't know, and there was a lot of fear because I was stepping into the unknown. The idea of leaving my job and just going full on with this journey, with this desire, with this passion that I have deep within me to be a spiritual teacher, which I don't even like the names and the labels because I don't know. I've never been a big fan of that, but I guess we have to call it something. So we'll just call it spiritual teacher. That's what I felt within me that I was supposed to be doing. I felt like that was my purpose and my calling, we could say. And so I started having this desire towards the end of, this was the end of last year. So towards the end of 2023, I felt this passion, this desire just increase. And it was like, okay, this is something that I really feel I'm supposed to be stepping into. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I really feel led to move away from my current 9-to-5 job and to step into this brand new world of teaching and writing and coaching, working with people. And so I just went for it. At the end of last year, I just decided to take a step of faith because I felt it was just a overwhelming desire. And for me, at this point in my journey, I knew the importance of listening to the intuitive heart. And so that's exactly what I did. My mind was coming up with all these different scenarios, and a lot of it was negative. A lot of it was going against the desires of my heart. But I went beyond the mind, and this is when I was really meditating more than ever, and I was really going into my heart space and trying to discover what the heart was saying. And I just, like I said, I just went for it. So I left the job and I decided I was going to go full-time as a writer and as a teacher. I was going to make videos and I was going to work with people. So I just stepped into my passion, I stepped into my calling, and I went for it. And as soon as I did this, so this was the beginning of this year, 2024, I started seeing numbers like 1111, 222, 333, 444, 555 everywhere. And so the numbers were appearing all over the place. I'd see whenever I check my phone, it'd be 1111, or I would be just, driving around and I'd see the numbers like on signs. And whenever I would see the number, whether it was 1111 or 222 or 333 or whatever it was, the number would pop out at me. And so I wasn't going around looking for these numbers. As a matter of fact, it was like the more I was trying to see the numbers, the less I would see them. So I was just going about my day. I was just minding my own business. And these numbers, these signs were popping out at me. And so one of the quotes that I decided was going to be like the theme for me for this year was a quote by Joseph Campbell where he says, "Follow your bliss and the universe will open up doors for you where there are only walls." And so for me, that was like, okay, I'm stepping into this calling that I have, this desire to do what I want to do full time. And to me, that's the very beginning of that quote, right? You're following your bliss, you're following your passion. But then Joseph Campbell says, when you do this, the universe will open up doors for you where there were only walls. And so here's the thing, the universe, when you start to follow your passion, when you start to follow your bliss, and you're going in that direction, the universe will absolutely start to open up doors, but you still have to walk through the door. You have to go in that direction. And so what these synchronicities were doing for me in January and February of this year were they were pointing me in the direction of where these open doors were. And so I would see the number, I would see the sign, and it was a reflection, because remember, the outer world is a reflection of the inner world. And so these were signs of my vibrational frequency and my state of being. And so I knew that when I started seeing these signs, when I started seeing these numbers, that was confirmation. That was a sign to continue in this state of being, to continue along this path and with this state of consciousness and the way I was thinking and the way I was feeling. In other words, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, was saying, keep going. These were little winks. These were little nudges to keep going along the path. And so this is what would take me through these open doors that were popping up left and right. The universe was not going to take me through the door. I had to actually change my state of being, change my thoughts, change my actions, change my beliefs, and actually walk through these doors. But my problem was I didn't know where to walk. I didn't know where to go. And this is where the synchronicities came in. The synchronicities were the signs. They were leading me in the right direction. And this is, like I said, this is mainly how synchronicities work. And there's different types of synchronicities. And like I said, for each person, it's going to be a little bit different because each person's journey is different. But I have found the two main times where we really start to experience synchronicities, or I'll say three main times. The three main times are, number one, when we're stepping into our purpose and we're doing what we love and we're fulfilling our desire of why we came here. That's number one. And then the synchronicities will start to pop up as like confirmation, hey, keep going in that direction, keep doing whatever you're doing. Number two is during a spiritual awakening. And the synchronicities during a spiritual awakening are just confirmation, and they're for comfort. And, it's almost like this reminder of, hey, you're not alone. There's spirit guides, there's angels, there's these beings around you, whatever you want to call them. And they're walking with you, they are assisting you, and they're telling you to keep going in the direction that you're going. So it's very similar to number one. They're confirmations, they're signs of whatever you're doing, keep doing that, because that is the direction you need to go. That's what the journey is all about. And then really the third time they start to happen is when you simply ask for them. When you start asking Source Consciousness, God, the universe, to send you signs, then signs will start appearing, okay? So for me, this was absolutely life-changing because I was at a time in my life where, like I said, I was stepping into the unknown. I was stepping into uncertainty. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I didn't know what to do, how to get it all started. But when I started in faith, just walking along the path, following the desires of my heart, following my bliss, that was the first thing. Then the universe started opening up these doors. That was the second thing. But like I said, the third thing, what got me through those doors is the synchronicities. It was the signs. It was the numbers. Now, like I said, the first thing that started happening was incredible synchronicities, like every single day. And the main thing was the numbers, but it was also all this other stuff. Like I would hear, like one of the first examples I gave in the beginning of this video was, with certain like teachers and authors. And so this is one of the main things that started happening for me. I would hear somebody would recommend a book or a teacher or a video to listen to, and it would be from a person, from a teacher, from an author that I'd never heard of. But then I'd go and I'd listen to this person and they would say the exact thing I needed to hear. And it was there was perfect alignment. There was harmony. And I would just keep following that. Or, like I said, all of a sudden, after I would become familiar with a particular teacher or an author, I would start seeing their name like everywhere in random places. And so this was an indicator for me to keep following this person, keep listening to this person, keep reading their books, keep taking in their wisdom and their teachings and their guidance. And so there were different things like that. But once I got into February, March, and everything was kind of taken off, then the synchronicities did start to kind of die down. They were happening less and less, as far as like seeing all the crazy number patterns all over the place and all these random places where it was like every time it would happen, it was like, okay, there's no way this is just a coincidence. There's definitely something more going on here. That started to dwindle down, but the one thing that never went away until this day, right now, we're in August and it's still happening very frequently and just about every day, is I would see 11:11. Like every time I check my phone or I check my watch or check the clock, it would be either 11:11 or it would be 12:11 or 1:11 or 4:11 or 5:11 or 7:11. It was always on the 11, and I wasn't looking for it. It was always when it would happen when I wasn't thinking. I was just like unconsciously checking the time or like going on my phone, and as soon as I'd go on my phone or go on my laptop, it would be on the 11, either 11:11 or it would be, like I said, 3:11, 4:11, 5:11. And what I noticed was the more I started understanding synchronicities and how they work and the energy behind them and the frequency behind them, what I kept noticing was I would see the number 11, 11:11, or like I said, 4:11, 5:11, 6:11, whenever I was in the state of being that was in alignment with my passion and with what I'm supposed to be doing. And so again, this was just a reflection. It was a reminder. And even on some days where I felt like I was off or I felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing as far as following my passion, or maybe I was discouraged about something and I was supposed to be writing, but I decided I didn't want to write anymore, whatever it was. Like when I would have these bad days, the numbers would start appearing almost as if they were, trying to uplift me and trying to remind me, hey, you know what, don't worry about that. Get back on track. Like, no, this is exactly where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. Keep going, keep following the path, and everything's going to work out. And so this is what has kept me going. The more I continue to walk in this direction, the more I continue to follow my bliss, the more I see the numbers, the more confirmation I get. And this is exactly how synchronicities work. So if you are someone that has experienced synchronicities, or you want to learn more about it, or you have questions, please leave your stories, your comments, your questions down below in the comment section, because I'd love to talk to you more about this, and I'd love to try to answer any questions you have. And then, like I said, if you have any stories with this, if this is something that you've been experiencing, I'd love to hear it as well. And it's good for other people to hear stories and to hear how this is something that is real and how it absolutely will change your life once you understand what's going on and you start following the numbers or the synchronicities or the signs or whatever it is. And it really is the divine confirmation that we need in times where we feel alone and lost and just afraid of the unknown. So again, please leave all your stories and your thoughts and comments and questions in the comment section below. And if you found this video helpful, informative, or insightful, please leave a thumbs up at the bottom of the screen, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.